Thank you very much, Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and most welcome guests. So this Saturday, June 13th, in Santa Clara University will hold their commencement for their graduates for class of 2026. So I was not invited to speak at that, so I'm going to go ahead and speak right here, right now, my commencement address to those grads. I'm going to start with, it was 1936, and F. Scott Fitzgerald made the quote, "The test of a first-rate intelligence is the ability to hold two opposed ideas in the mind at the same time and still retain the ability to function." So, with that in mind, I've got 4 things that I'm going to ask you all to think about as you prepare for the next step in your journey, graduates. 1, go out fast and furious. So I do a lot of 5 and 10Ks, and I know that if you don't get off to a good start, you're not going to catch up. You've lost that momentum, you've lost that drive, whatever it is to get there. It's really, really hard to make it up. And the career world is very much the same way. There are a bunch of 22-ish-year-olds who are all being unleashed on the market. You're all competing for jobs. Then you get those jobs, you're competing to move ahead and distinguish yourself. You want to start early, you want to start fast. I know not everybody wants to hear that, but that just is the reality. And it's easier to get ahead now and be ahead a few years from now and slow down than it is to kind of be behind and say, oh my God, I've kind of fallen behind, I'm going to work really hard. I know when I was at Oracle, I volunteered for any assignment that I could get. I would work any weekend, I would go anywhere I had to go. And those are the kind of things that get you noticed and give you opportunities. The other thing I want to point out is you're not going to have the same level of energy forever. It's going to be harder to just go all out like that when you're older. Do it now, get ahead now. Having said that, number 2, take a break. Also, going back to the running analogy, one of the biggest mistakes people make is they don't give themselves time to recover. They train too hard, they never let their bodies recover. You can't have peak performance if you're burned out and stressed out. So even though I said what I just said, you got to figure out how to give yourself breaks at the right times. I know with me, 6 months into my career at Oracle, I was so burned out, so stressed out that I couldn't take it anymore, and I flew to Denver where my boss was to quit. And I walked in her office and she said, "Barry, you're just burned out." She said, "Take 6 months off, call it a sabbatical, and come back in 6 months and you'll be fine." Well, I wasn't going to turn that down. And I had a great 6 months. I traveled the world and I really caught my breath, and I realized that the only problem was I just needed a break. Don't wait 6 years. And again, you're not going to get it every day, every week, every month even, but make sure you're finding time to take a break, go on vacation, unplug, do that trip, whatever. Otherwise, you'll be so burned out, you'll be worthless. All right, here's one that I know we have a financial planner back there in Chase. Save money now. Every dollar you save in your early 20s is worth so much more than any dollar you save even in your late 20s. And the mathematical compounding effect, anything you can do to save now, it's going to pay off. So my friend was visiting me when I got my first raise from Oracle after a year. And I said, "Hey, I got a 6% raise." And he said, "Cool, did your rent go up 6%? I said, "No." He's like, "Is gas up 6%? Is groceries up 6%? I said, "No." He's like, "Great, then I want you to invest all of that 6%. Put it in your company's 401k, IRA, whatever, I don't care, just save it." And he said, "You know what? And if you can save even more than that, then save more than that." And I said, "Well, how much?" He said, "As much as you can." He said, "Barry, remember when we would go to McDonald's in high school and that 75-year-old guy would wait on us? And we thought that he just did it for fun, meeting people in his retirement." He said, "No, he's doing that because he has no choice. He's out of money. You don't want to be old and out of money. Right now, you're young, live cheap, save your money. Trust me, you will thank me." He's still my good friend, and I have thanked him so many times for the advice that has paid off in spades for me. I didn't get married or have kids till mid-30s, late 30s, and I'm very fortunate. I have two healthy, great kids. I was able to do both. How many here remember Sandra's speech from a couple weeks ago? She basically got up here and said, you know what? You can't have it all. And she told the story about some people who waited too long. They focused on their careers, and then when they finally met the right person and they were ready to have kids, it was too late. And even with things like IVF and technology, the odds go down pretty fast. So I'm not an expert in that field, but I will tell women and men, be cognizant of the clock, because you don't want it to be too late and you miss that opportunity. So while I'm telling you to wait and focus on your career, I'm also telling you to be cognizant of you can't wait too long, or at least you got to know what you're doing. So having said that, you're probably sitting here saying, you know what? I hate this speech. This is the worst advice I've ever heard. It's contradictory. It's hard. It's not the coddling that I was hoping to get, telling me that I was going to go out and kill it. But you know what? Guess what? That's how the world works. I know also your generation grew up believing that the world was going to end due to global warming, political divisiveness was going to tear apart the country, and of course AI is going to steal all your jobs. I'm here to tell you it's going to be okay. You're going to do just fine, and you're going to be incredibly successful. So how could I actually turn this into some real advice that might help you as you try to navigate these four contradictory things, much like F. Scott Fitzgerald said that the mark of true genius is the ability to keep all those things in mind. Start with a vision. And I don't believe in, you've got to have goals. This is your, 20, 30, 40-year plan. Just think about where you want to be in 5 years. What do you want your career to be like? Think about a typical day, your perfect day in your perfect career. Are you indoors? Are you outdoors? Are you working in front of a lot of people? Are you working in front of a computer? Think about your relationship. Are you married? Are you having kids? Are you far from that and you never want that? But if you can kind of visualize the perfect day, then you can make decisions based on, is this choice going to put me one step closer to that eventuality, or is that a detour from where I'm trying to go? I was all over the place. I was a mess, but somehow ended up in a place that I like to be. And I think that was because I knew where I wanted to be. So, use that as your pole star. So now I want to get more specific, because one of the graduates in Santa Clara is my daughter, who is getting her bachelor's in electrical engineering and is another one of those 22-year-olds. And what advice do I have for you, Katie? Well, I remember when, and you may or you may not remember this, but when you were about 3, we would walk and I would hold your hand. You were just a little tot like this. And when we were in the roads or crossing streets, whenever we'd go over a curb, I didn't want you to fall. So I'd say, make sure you're holding Daddy's hands, because it's dangerous. And then I got to the point where I'd say, oh, we're at a curb. Why are we holding Daddy's hands? And she'd say, because there's a bull out there. I have no idea what that meant. But it's something, that a 3-year-old said. And she would laugh so hard, and then she knew what she was doing. She knew that was her joke. So the joke became, because there's a bull out there. So I don't even know, Katie, if you even remember that. But it's very similar. I wish that I could be there holding your hand for every single challenge that you face, every single step that you have ahead of you, because you know what? There are a lot of bulls out there. But I am very confident that you will succeed. You have all the skills to succeed, and please know that I'm every bit as much with you now as I ever was when you were 3, facing the bulls. Mr. Toastmaster. Thank you.